Welcome to Wine Truck Sessions by 90 Plus Cellars. I'm Brett, and since this summer you can't come and visit the wine truck, we're taking the wine truck to you virtually, enjoying wines along the way. Today I'm here with owner of Sip Wine Education and wine educator extraordinaire, Maia Gosselin. How are you, Maia?
I'm excellent, thank you. Thanks for having me on today.
Pleasure to have you here. How's your summer been?
Summer's been wonderful. We've had fantastic weather. Once things started opening up a little bit more, I think it was great to get outside and just enjoy everything that this great New England weather has to offer.
Absolutely. We're here in Swampscott, Massachusetts on a beautiful sunny day with the wine truck behind us, with a view of the water in downtown Boston. And we're going to talk about wines to enjoy for Labor Day. What do you think about that?
Labor Day is a little bit later this year.
True.
So we have an extra week or so in there to stretch the season out. But you're going to have your usual backyard cookouts, barbecues, maybe a pool party. Everything is, you can still have the same events, but maybe a little bit smaller this year. So still all the great reasons to enjoy some wine at your festivities.
And what's a small event without a few bottles of wine to enjoy and some good food?
Exactly.
So today, Maia, we have 3 bottles of wine to enjoy for your Labor Day festivities. The first wine we're going to feature is a rosé, of course, from Provence, France.
Favorite. And
it's a rosé wines over the past couple of years, dry rosé wines in particular, have become more and more popular with more and more people. And it's a great thing because about a decade ago, all of us who were, into wine and involved in the wine business, these are the wines that we loved on a summer afternoon. Right, and it's so great to be able to share these kinds of wines and for so many people to discover them over the past couple years. And what do you think? What do you think about the rise of rosé?
Well, I also have been on the rosé bandwagon for probably over a decade at this point. I love seeing that it's caught on in popularity. It's sort of, you would have to be living in a cave to not know that rosé was an incredibly popular concept style of wine right now. I think the biggest issue for many people has been the color itself. Right. But I always say pink has no taste. So just close your eyes if the color really is a problem for you. But again, we're looking at a style of wine that is dry, crisp, sometimes mineral driven, has nice acidity to it, great to drink on its own in hot weather, great with food. And this one is from Provence, which is one of my favorite areas to have them from. I also love the Languedoc in southern France as well. Rosé you can of course have anywhere around the world because it's of course made with red grapes. So you can make rosé, but my heart is with France.
So is mine, of course, especially when it comes to wines like these. This one is made from Grenache and Cinsault from Provence, 2 grapes that grow in the south of France quite well. It's a very dry climate in the south of France, and so you need to work with wines that are a little bit more drought resistant. And still produce wines that are fresh and lively, because here you are in an area with the Mediterranean, the beaches, the heat, the sun, and you need something that's refreshing to drink. And so this wine and this style of wine has been popular in this area for many, many years. And it's not just the wine, but I think the lifestyle that people are in love with when they pop open a bottle of wine with this pale pink color and this kind of really fresh taste to it.
Shall we taste?
Of course.
So quaffable is one of my favorite words to use when describing something like this. It is so refreshing. And this is what you were just talking about with the French having, this is sort of a way of life. They have that joie de vivre, and every day, around midday, this is part of their lunch. Like this is, right. The French are, fans of lunch hour and a half, have a glass of rosé, man, woman, child. Anybody drinks rosé there. It is just sort of part of it is cultural in France. And then it sort of has finally crept into, our way of thinking. And to this point, you see rosés now by the glass on menus at restaurants, 1 if not 2 often. If you don't have a nice selection, I think people now kind of judge the wine list in the opposite way. They used to judge it for having it. Now they're saying, well, you don't have rosé. You have to have rosé. Everyone must have rosé.
You need rosé. You absolutely need rosé on a wine list or at your house, on your house's wine list.
There's plenty of rosé stocked in my house. So for Labor Day, this is a great one because, again, the weather's still going to be hot. I mean, we're looking at temps still, in early September, well into the 80s, high 80s. So you want something that you can have a nice chill on it. It's going to be that sort of easy drinking. You don't have to think too much about it. It will go with a lot of different foods, cheeses, lighter seafoods, things like that. I love rosé with lobster salad. I love it with pasta salad, chicken salad. I think it's a great, cold foods and cold rosé is just such a delicious pairing in my mind.
Well, both that description of a Labor Day feast and the wine has got my mouth watering, and ready to pop open a bottle and to fire up the barbecue for.
There's never any leftover. Rosé is not one of those
There's
wines
never any leftover rosé.
Never any leftover rosé.
So,
Bring 2 of these to the party.
Absolutely.
If you're going.
They don't cost that much. Usually, less than $15 a bottle, and so you can get 2. You can share it. You don't have to keep it all for yourselves, and you can get your barbecues or Labor Day festivities started in the right way. Excellent. So, what's next? Next, we've got a Muscadet. Muscadet, which is, to be clear, not Moscato. Absolutely not Moscato. Muscadet, we're going from the south of France to the more northern parts of France, to the Loire Valley, closer to Paris, and in this case, closer to the Atlantic Ocean and not the Mediterranean Sea. Mm-hmm. So Muscadet is a white grape. It's a very neutral grape. It was originally planted in this area by the Dutch as a distilling grape, but through generations of winemakers making dry white wines, crisp white wines, meant to be served alongside of fresh seafood that was also in the area, like oysters is a particularly good pairing with Muscadet. You have a beautifully crisp, refreshing, flavorful white wine that's an excellent alternative to your more mainstream varieties or white wines like Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Grigio and such. So what are your thoughts on Muscadet?
This 2020 has been the summer of Muscadet for me,
okay.
I'll be honest. So you're speaking my language right now. I also agree about the Moscato confusion. Right. I think one of the reasons that Muscadet has not sort of risen higher in our general knowledge or how we think of it is because of that slight confusion. So when I say the wine to people, they say that's sweet, and I say, actually, it's bone dry.
Right.
It's one of the driest styles of white wine that there is.
Right.
So I love it. I love it that it's an outstanding example of this particular part of the Loire Valley. Where it comes from, you have a lot of, it's a maritime climate in the Loire, over in the Pays Nantais, and so there's a lot of salt water in the air, and that sort of leaches into the soil. It's in the canopy, and that in turn translates into that beautiful mineral crushed shells component that's in the Muscadets. So if you think about wine being representative of its place, terroir, this Muscadets come from the west coast. Right, so that's the Atlantic Ocean. Right. And then you pair that with one of our Atlantic East Coast oysters,
absolutely.
And boom, you've got perfection right there.
So let's get into tasting this
Do we
wine.
have oysters today? No, we don't
I wish
have
we
oysters.
could go harvest some probably somewhere nearby. Here you are.
Thank you. Thank you. Mm.
What strikes me after tasting this wine is really the really crisp, like intense acidity, the brightness in the wine, the lemony citrus flavors, the mildness of the body, and just the wonderfully refreshing qualities of this white wine, which makes it just a great wine to pair with anything that's flavorful, with seafood, with cheeses, anything where you need that bright acidity to kind of wash down whatever you're having.
100% agree. And also mussels and beurre blanc is one of the classic pairings for the Muscadet. But 2 things I would point out that you want to be looking at on a label when you're shopping for Muscadet, and that's the Surly and Sèvres-et-Maine. So Sèvres-et-Maine, which is where this one is from, that's considered to be one of the premier areas for grape growing in the area. So that tells you right away you're getting quality, a higher quality of Muscadet. And then Surly, of course, is the wine itself is aged through the winter on the lees. Lees are the spent yeast cells. that imparts the creaminess to this wine. As you mentioned earlier, the actual grape itself doesn't have a tremendous amount of backbone to it. So when they stir it up, it imparts that. So you can kind of get like a nice creamier, richer mouthfeel on some of these wines.
When you have some of that elevated acidity in a wine like this, because it's from a cooler climate, because it's maritime influence, you need some of that texture. And another thing that I will say about Muscadet, which is great for all of you guys that are interested in wines with very low sugar, almost zero sugar, and lower calories. Muscadet is probably one of the driest, lowest calorie white wines there is
100%,
out there.
yep.
They have lower alcohol and they almost have zero sugar. So if you want something, even though it might not say it on the label, because the French really don't really advertise this on their bottles of wine. They care more about the way the wine tastes than necessarily the calories and the alcohol and the sugar. But if you really want a reliable, like low sugar, kind of lower calorie wine, Muscadet is a great place to start.
Absolutely. I usually tell people this is the one to go for if you're doing such a thing as counting calories, which of course we shouldn't be doing for wine. But it does have that appeal as well, that nice clean, and that it's usually 11 or 12% alcohol.
Right.
So easy to drink, and again, 1 or 2 bottles at a party would be my recommendation to bring. Because also this is an under 20.
Absolutely, under 15, absolute for this one, as a matter of fact. So very approachable, very easy to drink, party pleaser, especially with food.
Absolutely.
Now we move on to the red. Eventually you got to break out some of the more heartier dishes, some of the burgers, some of the steaks, and you need something with a little bit more substance. So we're going to California. We're going to feature Zinfandel, which is actually a Mediterranean grape, originally from kind of southern Italy, the Croatia, the Adriatic coast. Migrated to California around the mid kind of 1800s and became kind of a staple there and almost considered an American grape variety.
Yes. My first go-to style when I'm thinking of grilled meats, and that is really Labor Day's, calling card, is a Zinfandel. And this is a stellar example, but I love that. So when I think of Zinfandel, I'm usually thinking of blackberry and maybe a little cocoa coffee notes in there, certainly some licorice as well, and then all those beautiful flavors that blend together with barbecue. When I think of burgers, I'm thinking like a bacon burger or a bacon cheeseburger, and then my mind just goes right to a Zinfandel. So it's approachable too. We're comfortable enough with the term. Again, this is the name of the grape, of course, is Zinfandel.
Right.
Rockpile is the AVA that it's from in California, but Zinfandel is the name of the actual grape. So as consumers, I think there's a level of familiarity and comfort with the Zinfandel, but this particular one rises a few notches above on the quality.
Yes. So it's from an area that is
Scale.
very high elevation, almost very hard to get to in a way, off the beaten path in Sonoma County. The AVA is called Rockpile. AVA stands for American Viticultural Area. These are from some old vines planted, a while, years ago, decades ago. And it's a very dry climate, like the Mediterranean climate, sits above the fog line in Sonoma. Zinfandel has a problem with rot, so it needs a dry climate to really thrive well, and it finds it here. And the other thing about having kind of these hillside vineyards and a higher elevation is that you don't get a lot of water retention in the soils, and so you get amazingly kind of concentrated ripe grapes, and it translates into just a wonderfully aromatic and full-bodied red wine. Now, with Zinfandel too, a lot of people confuse it with white Zinfandel, which is made from the same variety, but not from the same place. And as you can see, white Zinfandel being pink and sweet, this being kind of red and full-bodied and dry.
Yeah, I often say a white Zinfandel drinker is not going to be happy probably with a red Zinfandel and vice versa. So
not at all.
Do not confuse the fact that it's the same grape in there with the style of wine.
Absolutely. So I guess we should take a taste.
Yes, we should, absolutely.
Okay.
This is such a beautiful wine. A lot of tobacco right up front.
Wow, I haven't actually tasted that bottle in a while. It's tasted great right now. I can only imagine what it would be with some...
I'm just thinking, where's my big burger right now?
Where's my steak tips?
Some spicy french fries and a blue cheeseburger, maybe?
Here's to Labor Day. Here's to
Labor
the
Day.
Summer of 2020.
Yes.
Has it been the summer that we all expected maybe more than 6 months ago? But we're making the best of it, given what we've got, given with great people, great wine, and lots of great food to
Cheers.
fill in the spaces.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cheers. So that's all from Linscott Park in Swampscott, Massachusetts. Follow us on Instagram to find the next episode of Wine Truck Sessions for your viewing pleasure, and follow Maia at
Sip Wine Education on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, anywhere.
That's all for now, folks. Tune in next time. Cheers.
Cheers.